Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I'm going to be talking about Rick and Morty Season 4. All right, so let's get into it. All right. At the time of this video, there is no Rick and Morty Season 4, and it has not been confirmed by Cartoon Network. Cartoon Network has specifically not signed for a Season 4 of Rick and Morty. And it has begun to be a significant discussion on the internet, involving Dan Harmon, involving the Rick and Morty community, involving the people who are external to the Rick and Morty community, okay? All right, so it is my belief that there will never, ever be a Rick and Morty Season 4, and here is why. All right, so the short answer for why there will never be, I think there are several reasons, but I think the primary driver for why there will never be a Rick and Morty Season 4 is nihilism. Nihilism, all right. So nihilism is, in my opinion, the main central theme of Rick and Morty, okay? So basically, and I'll give you the connection, okay? So basically, nihilism is the rejection of the rejection of religious and moral principles, often associated to the belief that life is meaningless. Okay, this very, very succinctly describes the worldview that is presented within Rick and Morty. Okay, and it's not just me saying this. You will find no less than 50 to 100 YouTube videos, articles, and then probably the same amount of articles and the same amount of podcasts saying nihilism is a major theme, if not the major theme, within Rick and Morty, okay? Now, if you think like that, I'm projecting that onto the show, here's some connective tissue to say, no, nihilism really is in this show, okay? All right, so there's a point where Rick's sister becomes very, very sad. She is deeply wounded, right? Emotionally wounded, right? And she's hurt, and she's in her room, and she's like folding some clothes, and Rick goes to talk to her, and she's like, get out of here, Rick. I don't want to hear from you. You can't show me a drawing and make me feel not sad anymore. I have a real problem here. I'm genuinely upset. I don't want to hear your nonsense, right? So she kind of tries to just push him off, and Rick persists. Now, Rick, he is like, they actually play maudlin music during this scene. Like, this is supposed to be a touching scene within Rick and Morty, right? By the way, I have watched all 3 seasons of Rick and Morty, and so here's my experience with Rick and Morty, right? I've watched all 3 seasons of Rick and Morty. I have then studied nihilism based on the idea. I actually went and I sought out, what does this mean? What did what I just watched mean, right? And I learned about nihilism, that they said this was connected to nihilism, and then I researched nihilism. And I've actually researched several other major topics. I've also researched the creator of Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon, okay? All right, so that's, now, ironically, I don't think I'm part of the Rick and Morty community because I'm not a fan. I'm actually not a fan of the show. So why did I watch 3 seasons of it? Well, it is my opinion that Rick and Morty is a millennial key. It is a key to understanding millennials, right? And also, I'm in the technology, my job is technology. And so I watch the generation that is best with technology. I watch them closely, right? And the reason why is I want to see what tech they're using, and then I immediately go to that tech, right? It's a good model. It's worked really well for a long time, okay? All right, so basically, that's my experience with Rick and Morty, okay? So Rick is talking to his sister, and she's emotionally wounded, and she needs to be consoled. Excuse me. So Rick says to her, he says, no one exists on purpose. No one belongs anywhere. We're all going to die. And then wait for it. Here's the last thing he says. Come watch TV. Okay? That is nihilism in a nutshell. Right? That's not a dotted line to nihilism. That's a line carefully measured out with a ruler, and then traced over with a Sharpie, right? Like, so Rick and Morty is about nihilism, right? The hardcore rejection of religious and moral principles, right? So why, now, Rick and Morty has done very well. It has it has a very healthy, okay, let's talk about the Rick and Morty community. By the numbers, this show has done well, okay? There's not a single TV ad executive. There's no one who would say that Rick and Morty has not been commercially successful, that it has from the numbers of people who watch Rick and Morty, it's a healthy number, right? It's a number that other shows would want to get, right? And so let's talk about why we're even talking about this today, right? So there is a person that I am associated with, and I can't call him a friend because here's why. So this person, XYZ, right? So person XYZ, the way I met this person was I was at a FLGS, Friendly Local Game Shop, and this person was putting together, was actually spending time doing a hobby that I was very interested in, right? So I introduced myself, and I knew a little bit about the hobby, and we talked about the hobby, right? And then later I said, hey, I would like to do this hobby, but I don't know how. And I know I could sit down and watch a bunch of YouTube videos, but could we get together and you just show me how to do this one main thing within this hobby? And so the person did, right? And at this point, I have all the tools and all the knowledge and everything I need to do this hobby. And I do this hobby probably once a month, once every 2 or 3 months, right? And so this person then, so logically, after we would go out, after he taught me how to do this thing, we went out to lunch and, had a nice lunch and we talked together. And so, but at this point, right, if this person was with me and then one of my friends walked up and my friend said to me, hey, did you see Pacific Rim this weekend? And I said, no, I didn't see it. What'd you think of it? Right. And then, this other person XYZ who taught me this hobby was there. And I said, hey, and I went to say, oh, this is XYZ. When I went to say this is, I would not say my friend because I know it would be assumptive, right? I consider this person a friend, but I'm not sure this person considers me a friend. I'm not sure if you guys have anybody like this in your lives, but basically there are a lot of actions that this person does that would make it look like we were friends, but this person has never said we're friends, never introduced me to anybody as their friend. And I'm smart enough to know that if I went to introduce this person as my friend, I'm not sure I could carry that all the way through, right? Because I'm not positive that it's true, right? So this person, I actually spent a considerable amount of time with him, right? So recently, we were at another event, not connected to the first hobby, right? And me and some of my friends there, and this person is there. And I said to that person, because this person is a major Rick and Morty fan. And I said, hey, I was just reading on the net, that Rick and Morty isn't confirmed for season 4. What do you think about that? Because I was shocked when I learned this, right? Because I thought, by the way, by the numbers, confirming Rick and Morty for season 4 is a no-brainer. Right? It should already have happened. And that's why there's a lot of discussion buzzing around on the internet about where is the new season of Rick and Morty, right? It's a really important question because it should exist by all the numbers, right? So we got this situation where Rick and Morty season, so I say to person XYZ, I'm like, what do you think of that? And the person looks at me, just kind of smiles, right? And goes, and is very and he gave me the casual smile, right? Like, oh, you naive, ignorant casual, right? Like, and let's talk about being a casual now, right? I've watched every single episode of Rick and Morty, and I've studied its underlying themes, right? And I'm considered a casual. And the reason why is this person XYZ has watched every single episode multiple times, right? And also plays a video game where they spend a lot of hours every single week playing a video game that is connected to that is based on the Rick and Morty IP. This person owns pieces of clothing that have Rick and Morty on those pieces of clothing. This person has board games and that are and card games that are associated with Rick and Morty, right? So to him, I'm a rank casual, and so he just kind of laughs and he goes, "Oh, yeah, Rick and Morty, the season 4 is already." He says there's going to be he said season 4 is confirmed, right? And I knew this guy cared about Rick and Morty a lot, right? So I didn't say anything about it, right? Just a couple days later, the whole group's back together, and somebody brings it up, and I appreciate that they did. They said, "Oh, hey, person XYZ, Scott's right. There's not confirmed for season 4." He went, "What?" Right? And then we all went to our phones and winner, chicken dinner. It is not confirmed for a season 4 right now. As of this video, it's still not confirmed for a season 4. And person XYZ was shocked, right? And so they should be, right? It is shocking that there is no season 4, because why is there no season 4? Well, here's the answer why there is no season 4. Our world is incredibly changing. It really, really is. Excuse me. So here's the reason. Our world is really changing. I think the reason why Rick and Morty will never have a season 4 is nihilism. You cannot build on nihilism. You can build nothing on nihilism. Nihilism is worse than sand. Well, nihilism is a surface that has been made slippery. You're not going to build anything on it, right? And so here's why. Okay. So basically, I think what's happening right now, there's two major drives there's two things that have affected the politics, the culture, and the society of America deeply within the last year. And that is the #MeToo movement and the gun resistance and the gun resistance movement, I'm gonna try to be as fair as possible to that group and say gun resistance, people who are resisting having unrestricted guns. Okay, so gun resistance movement. And I think what's happening is you see every day on television people coming out and talking about these movements, right? And I think, and Hollywood is filled with smart people, readers and watchers and experiencers and creatives, right? And they're looking at this change that's happening in America and going, oh, crap, we are part of the problem. We are part of the problem. And I think there's a lot of self-reflection happening in Hollywood right now. And they're saying, you know what, we are part of what created #MeToo, and we are part of the glorification of guns in our society. So we really got to do something. It's not okay to just make our shows, make our movies, and walk away with our big checks. We really have got to start to think about that. And I think that is exactly what's happening right now at Cartoon Network, who makes Rick and Morty, right? You have executives going, whoa, all right, what's happening with Rick and Morty? Okay, we've had 3 good seasons. Everybody's happy with it, right? But there's some cracks in the foundation, right? So right now, if you look at the Rick and Morty community, there's some problems, right? I don't think anyone has proven that Rick and Morty is a toxic community, but there are a lot of articles and there's a lot of discussion starting around on different platforms, podcasts, YouTube, articles, saying, hey, is the Rick and Morty community a toxic community? Totally fair question. Because if you go onto a lot of forums, if you go onto YouTube, you're going to find some dark subject matter connected to the Rick and Morty television show and people who are not being nice to each other, right? And that is alarming, right? And here's the key, right? Rick, who is, the show's Rick and Morty, and Rick is listed first, right? He said, right, in the show, no one exists on purpose. No one exists on purpose. No one belongs anywhere. We're all going to die. Come watch TV. And I think what's happening right now is Cartoon Network is carefully thinking, do we have a season 4 of Rick and Morty? And there's some really good reasons not to have a season 4 of Rick and Morty. And the reason why is The show's built on nihilism, right? So if you are winning people over to the worldview that is presented in Rick and Morty, and it is presented as an attractive, exciting worldview, right? Then what happens when somebody goes, okay, I don't exist on purpose. I don't belong here, right? And I'm going to die. What if they put something else at the end of that? What if they go, maybe I might want to do something other than go watch TV? I'll tell you right now, nihilism is not going to send them to feed people at a homeless shelter, in my opinion, right? Like, and I think, and that's the question, is I think a lot of people are wondering, what happens if you fully convert to nihilism, right? Well, there really isn't a lot of good evidence to show that that's going to turn out well for anyone, right? And so I think that's what they're thinking. The other thing is Dan Harmon. There's another reason, is Dan Harmon. So I've studied Dan Harmon very closely, and he is a genius. He's a very, very bright man, right? But he struggles with some very serious problems. And when he's been on a successful show for a while, sometimes it doesn't go well, right? So one, there was a hard exit from, there was an exit from Community, one of the shows he created, and there was an exit from Sarah Silverman, which is another show he'd worked on. And as a creator, sometimes the later years are not incredibly productive or healthy, right? And so that is a significant concern for everybody at the table at Cartoon Network. You know, just actually dealing with what do they actually do with this show, right? So that is my full sweep on, I believe the reason there will never, ever, ever be a season 4 of Rick and Morty is there never should be a season 4 of Rick and Morty. No one wants to know what happens when you win somebody over to your worldview of nihilism. That doesn't work out well for anyone, and it is a strong reason why Rick and Morty should never get why I think it would be wise for the Cartoon Network executives to say, just wipe their hands and say, we're done. That's all, folks. Take care.